now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled Rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome and welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is Ben.
on Spoiled Rotten. And today we've got a very special episode. We have a returning guest. I'm sure everyone read who it was, but it's Andrew Young. Somebody I feel like I'm always happy when you agree to come back. I'm like, wow, we're in good company. You do love Daredevil, obviously. We've had you talk about your favorite heroes, your favorite Daredevil stories in particular.
Yep.
It only made sense to have you come back and talk to us about the first 3 episodes of Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah, I'm really happy with this because the last time I was on was for the Daredevil 2003 movie. So we've done talking about bad Daredevil. We're going to talk about some good Daredevil. So there we go.
So then that's an important question. Was She-Hulk Daredevil bad Daredevil?
It was funny Daredevil. It wasn't
Okay.
bad. It was just like, it was a different type of Daredevil. It was
Definitely.
like more leaning to the Mark Waid style of Daredevil.
Okay.
That's what I'd say. But one thing I will say before we get started, some good advice that I got from my father once is that, the best cure for a black guy is fast hands.
Well, I'm really happy you said that up top. That is definitely up there for my favorite moments of this season so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll do what I did last time for Invincible and just kind of, because we're not going to go through this episode by episode. I think we're going to be talking in moments that we liked and themes. The first 3 episodes, the first one obviously is it's kind of the catalyst for what makes Matt get rid of the suit once again, which is Foggy getting killed.
Yeah. Those first 15 minutes, like, it's, yes, you have the death of Foggy, which was like, ooh, that's like, that hit me in the gut. Some people said that they knew it was coming. I didn't know it was coming when I watched it. Also, I want to put up, because I want full disclosure here, I have seen all 9 episodes.
Oh, okay.
Good. I got screeners of all 9 episodes. So there are certain things you guys might say that I will not give either way, because I know this is Spoiled Rotten, but I don't want to spoil it for you guys.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
But I will say I did rewatch the first 3 episodes again today, just so that the first three were fresh. The Foggy thing still hit me hard, but those first 15 minutes are not even just the death of Foggy, but also kind of the death of the first Daredevil series. Because if you notice, after those first 15 minutes, it's a huge transition in Matt's life. It's 1 year later. We're dealing with all new cast members.
Yep.
And so the idea of being born again is really pushed here because the series is very much being born again.
I would agree. And I was one of those people that knew he was going to... I actually thought it was both of them get killed in the beginning. So at least I had that surprise. Oh, well, you know what? Karen's still there. Good. That's good.
But if you notice the one thing about Foggy, he got shot in the heart.
Yes.
And if you notice, everybody else that got shot, Bullseye, it was headshots. Whether it was knives or it was guns, it was headshots. Why? Instant death. Take out your computer, you're done. He wanted Foggy to suffer, not for Foggy's sake, but for Matt's sake, because also Foggy represents, the closest thing to a family member to Matt Murdock.
Yep.
And also, Foggy was kind of the heart of the original Daredevil series. So I thought that was really cool symbolisms of the shot through the heart.
I will say I'm happy that they did reshoots so that you actually got to spend time with Foggy and Karen, because by all accounts it was that you don't even see them, they just die. Well, maybe I misread. For sure Foggy died, but it was off screen, and maybe Karen was alive but just not in Matt's life anymore. So I'm glad that they gave people the old show for a bit and then
a bit of closure.
Kick them in the nuts. So yeah, also Wilson Fisk is trying to get rid of the Kingpin thing. Obviously, you've seen the whole 9 episodes, so you know where this is going. But right now, I'm living in the world of, well, I guess he just wants to do this the honest way, which is by being a mayor, and then sometimes he slips back into his old ways. But for now, for the first 3 episodes, it feels like he's like, I'm gonna do this the honest way. I'm gonna be mayor. I'll have control that way. So that's a big deal. And they have their meeting in the first episode, right?
They do, yes, and it's in the exact same diner that Matt Murdock and Elektra were hung out in season 2, which I forgot that Elektra scene. I went back and watched it. Is very comedic. It's just doing Elektra throwing a lot of one-liners in that scene.
All right, okay, I like that.
But it's the exact same booth too. So
there we go. And I know that was at Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio's request. That was not initially in the script.
Yeah, they wanted a scene because the two of them to get together because
otherwise
there was no point in the beginning of the series where you see the two of them together, and they felt there had to be a scene. It was also their idea for them to be kind of having a little bit of levity at first, like how they have a laugh over the fact that Matt brings up didn't she shoot you in the face? Moment. Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah,
I love the delivery of didn't she shoot you in the face, but I love the younger generation. What can we do?
yeah. That's the thing. It's like he's full Kingpin voice for that, but the laugh is just Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah. That's Vincent D'Onofrio's laugh, and then he goes back into the Kingpin type voice.
It's good stuff. Yeah, that as you said, it is a restart. Like they do it because now he's got a new partner. He's in an upscale law firm.
He's not even living in Hell's Kitchen.
That I was going to say that conversation makes it clear he hasn't even been back to Hell's Kitchen. Kingpin obviously is not in Hell's Kitchen as the mayor now. I don't know why, but I felt bad calling him the Kingpin, considering how much he wants to be known as Wilson Fisk in these first 3 episodes. But I was like, I shouldn't have called him that. And it's the second episode is that's the kind of the start of the White Tiger trial, right?
Yes. Yes, okay. Which is based on the Brian Michael Bendis story Trial of the Century from his run back in 2002. The story came out. It was a 3-issue story, and they of course they do their own thing with it. They do something different with it, but the same kind of sentiment is there. The only difference is in the comic originally is that when the White Tiger is on trial, it's a mistaken robbery situation. He actually was stopping a robbery, but the cops thought he was causing the robbery. He was brought in, and at the same time, the Daily Globe newspaper had just outed Matt Murdock as Daredevil, and so the court, the trial was he was representing the White Tiger, but the court of public opinion felt that it was a trial of Matt Murdock trying to defend himself. And so in this, of course, they take all that away, but still at the same time, the sentiment is there because even though Matt Murdock is no longer Daredevil at this point, he has a kinship with the White Tiger because the White Tiger represents his former life.
So yeah, that trial starts and it comes down to one of the new characters is Cherry, who is a former cop who retires in the first episode and becomes, I can't remember the name he gave them, but sorry, I'm so lost for names. His partner at his new firm is basically, hey, your hatchet guy's here, and he's like, he's not my hatchet guy, he's just my private investigator or something. But Cherry goes and finds he finds out that the man that Matt is trying to defend is White Tiger, which then leads to, okay, so that's why he's being weird about this, even though as Daredevil I can tell he's telling the truth, but that he's holding things back. And then they have to go on a hunt for the witness, the person that White Tiger was trying to save. And the cops catch on and basically like, well, yeah, we got to kill that witness. And that episode ends with Matt beating them up, not killing them, but definitely doing things that would have killed them.
Well, that scene, because of course, he's gotten the informant out of there. He's waiting for the cops. He lets the cops in. The cops are throwing their weight around. The cops then start beating on him, and then there's the part where they're going to kill Matt, and Matt is like, "Please don't do this, don't do this." But I feel like he's not saying that to them. I feel like he's saying that to himself.
I would agree.
Yeah, that he's like, "Don't do this," because he knows that he loves the violence. That's the thing about Daredevil is that, look at all these other heroes. Daredevil is somebody that part of him, he likes the bad part of his job. He gets off on it. He thrives because he comes from, a language of violence. He was raised in violence. Stick beat the shit out of him when he was a kid. His father was a boxer. So this is something that's like inherently in him. And of course, there is, to some extent, the human race does have a,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we are dealing with that language of violence in us every day, sort of thing. And so Matt doesn't want to give into it. And when he does, it's almost at the end when he's standing there. There's like this rush of the situation, but almost like an automatic guilt of I'm doing it again. It's like he knows that he's addicted. He knows that he's done this now. How many more times is he going to go back to doing?
And like in the third episode, which is just straight up the trial of White Tiger, and some cool stuff where they get the witness there, even though the witness screws them over, but they get the witness there with some
a lot of high tension
stuff.
there. That was good. Yeah.
I was really we'll get into it more, but I really was invested in getting the witness there, and I was very invested in what the actual jury would come up with at the end. I was genuinely like, well, okay, what's going on? What's going to happen? So they got me on that. Like, I definitely was invested wholeheartedly for that stuff. But it does not end well for White Tiger at the end of this.
Does not.
He is like, would you say he's acquitted? I don't know legal terms. He got not guilty on all accounts.
Yeah.
And he did not go back to Puerto Rico. He wanted to do another run in the city.
Yeah.
And he got taken out. So that was that episode ends very sadly with the frog sound that he described at the beginning of that.
That frog sound, that's all you hear after that.
No music, just the frog sound, which is very upsetting.
Okay, now, but you brought up I know we're going to jump around everything, but you brought up that he got taken out. Do you want to talk about that shot?
Oh, absolutely.
Of like
we got it.
Took him out?
Yeah.
I just assume it's someone else, but it is the Punisher. It's not. It
right.
is not.
So you assume it's someone else. You assume it's someone else. Okay.
But someone wearing the Punisher's uniform.
Right.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you have seen the 9 episodes, so you know.
I'm not going to say, but yes.
I'm hoping it's not the Punisher, because I would immediately be like, why would he take this vigilante out when he feels like it just doesn't feel like his MO to do that. Right. I don't know.
Okay, all I'm going to say is you're looking at this logically, and that's exactly how you should be looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
It just doesn't make sense that it would be him. There's what I think I know about the character, but also the fact they didn't show his face, and I feel like you would show his face if you were trying to just not have a mystery.
Right.
I think you would just be like, and hey, look, we got John Bernthal. Even though you've seen him in the trailers, this is him right here.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think it's him. We can get into it now, or we can talk about it later. But I don't really know who it would be. I know people saying it's got to be a dirty cop, and I'm just like, I don't know why you would dress like the Punisher, but maybe the show will show me why that you would dress like the Punisher. But
also, you've been seeing these cops with these Punisher tattoos on their arms and necks.
Unless they go out as the Punisher, and that's just the thing. Maybe that's it.
I think we're going to have a fun conversation in later episodes about that.
Yeah, because I very much like you, Daniel, do not believe it's the Punisher. I do believe it's the cops doing a very, the whole Dark Knight thing where it's like, what gives you the right and all that kind of stuff. What's the difference?
I'm not wearing hockey pants.
Yeah, that kind of thing, and that they're just kind of like a gang within the gang within the cops. The gang,
which is a gang.
It is a gang. A gang within to be like, here's the added level of it. I don't know why they're like, hey, it's a good idea to leave a symbol on us and all that kind of stuff in case. It for easy identification or whatever, but like the show says, it goes through so many ways to show you how that blue line will stand together, and then try to do all these crazy things. And I like the way they described it in episode 2, where it's like once once a cop's dead, the machine goes on and it doesn't stop until it gets so to me, I'm like, okay, this is retribution from those same cops, and or a hit, or just trying to be like, hey, we need to pass this on to someone else, so let's wear this iconography of the Punisher and all that kind of stuff. That's where I believe it is right now. I can see your.
I think, again, I like that you've seen everything, but to me, it's like, well, then I would like to wait and see. But if we are having the discussion, to me, if it is one of the dirty cops and I've already seen them wearing the tattoo, it makes me feel like they respect him and wouldn't want to implicate him in that murder. The same way you wouldn't just do it as a cop, because then you don't want to implicate the cops. I don't see why a group of people who clearly look up to the Punisher would want to implicate him in a death like that. So I'm a little interested to see how this show reconciles that.
Okay.
But that's why I was a bit confused, like, not on whether or not it's Frank Castle. It's more just like, it makes the most sense just time-wise for it to be one of the dirty cops. And I like the idea that, Andrew, you put out there, that maybe that's just a thing they do. They go around as the Punisher anyway, exacting their justice. And so then it's not really connected to, like, I have to dress like this to do this one thing. It's just they would have done that anyway. But we'll see. And I also feel like there could be a Kingpin element to it that as someone who is trying to get rid of vigilantes, would want a vigilante's visuals around that crime scene.
See, I'm actually pushing up against that and being like, I think it's the Vanessa angle that's ordered the hit or whatever.
Either way, from that family.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be Wilson. I would just say from that family.
Which is, to point out, I think, important, that it appears to be quite divided right now between the two. They're in couples counseling. They're sitting at opposite ends of the table. Like, there's resentment there. They're trying to communicate and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a bit biased here, but every time I see there's couples counseling, I'm like, that's closer to the end than people would like to admit. You know what I mean? With what Vanessa was talking about in, I think, the first episode, where Fisk just kind of comes in and disrupts the board meeting, so to speak. The idea of, like, he just disappeared. She took care of business and made it more profitable and all that kind of stuff. And now he's stepping back and being like, you can't do this. And then she's obviously,
and she's already had another relationship in that time as well with Adam. So I think what I did want to do before we got into the nitty gritty was kind of just get a temperature check of how everyone feels about the first 3 episodes. Andrew, how about you? Like, just as a 3 episode run, how did you feel about it?
So I had a lot of as you know, big Daredevil fan, a lot of invested interest going into this, and I felt that they really stuck the landing on the first episode. They took a big swing. They could have immediately turned people off with what they do. In fact, Charlie Cox still doesn't know if it was the right choice to kill Foggy. That's what he says. He said, we took a big swing at the beginning of the first episode. I'm not even sure if it's still the right thing to do. But they really did well with that. And they did a good job of setting up the Kingpin and Matt Murdock on their new path, and then introducing new characters, probably the ones of notes, probably the most important being Heather Glenn, who we can get into a little bit later. So adding in a new element, because the thing is, it's Matt. You've always got to have some kind of relationship angle in there, because that's what makes Matt interesting. Matt is someone who, we've talked about it before, when people say that he's like Batman. He's not like Batman, because Batman is like Batman first, everything else second. Whereas Daredevil is, I want to do the right thing, but I want to do it as Matt Murdock. I still want to feel life. I still want to enjoy life. It does feel like the dichotomy
that's an
of
important
being
distinction.
exactly the
It's actually
dichotomy of
helping me.
being Catholic.
Yeah.
Is you both are like you want to enjoy the life that God gave you, but for some reason the whole time, anytime you feel great joy, you feel guilty about it. So,
Ben, how about you?
I'm not as high on the first episode. It definitely took me for a ride emotionally, but it was just like it felt to me like it was, let's wrap up the Netflix stuff as soon as possible so we can tell our story here. And it was very effective. I think the BB report is something I'm still trying to get used to, because I'm just like, why is the aspect ratio on this weird? Why is, it takes you out of it, and I'm still trying to figure out what the intention is there, because all it does is jar me and be like, okay, wait, whoa, that momentum stopped, and now we're basically going towards B-roll and and all this kind of stuff. So it was a bit rocky. Episode 2 is where it gripped me. I'm like, oh, this is the show. When they said we're going to focus more on the courtroom stuff and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay. And obvious, I to me, I'm like, it's obvious that it's not going to work out, and he's going to slip the costume back on and all those kind of things. And but I think there's a genuine attempt at Matt trying to turn that page on being like, I'm not Daredevil anymore. And to me, the thing that the line was the when he goes like the line was crossed, I think he's speaking less to the death of Foggy, but more to the idea that he tried to execute Bullseye in that
That's
scene
the
where
only thing he's talking about.
Right. Okay. Well, I've seen some things where it's like, okay, the Foggy thing and all that, and I'm like, why would
Foggy
he
made
double
him
down
cross
on
the
it?
line, but
Yeah.
he's not. That's that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
It's-
crossing
Fair
the
enough.
line was
the crossing
throwing-
line is
Yeah,
we're trying to
the
kill.
execution. Yeah. So to me, I'm like, the first episode was rocky, but it ultimately did stick the landing. It got me invested. It got me caring. The whole Karen aspect of it is probably something that we're gonna see again. But to me, I'm like, this is weird that they couldn't have been there for each other. But it's the vibe check on the first 3 episodes. I'm like, episode 2 and 3 to me are pretty damn solid. Episode 1 to me was like, this is rocky, but at the same time, I can fully appreciate why it's rocky. Being like, okay, they clearly a continuation of the series, and they're like, okay, we have to wrap up what they were setting up in the 3rd season of Daredevil and all that kind of stuff. We have to kind of make it airtight so that we can move on to this. And I do agree with that. But rocky first episode, so to speak.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I've heard that opinion from a few people. I get you.
I think this show definitely has solidified for me that I'm not a Daredevil fan. I do think it's done well. I think there's nothing that I can really pick at and be like, yeah, this is objectively bad, or even something I would not like in something else. I think there is something about, and it's not Charlie Cox, because I enjoy watching him. Like, I am loving watching him promote this with Vincent D'Onofrio. Like, I think he's great. There's something about his portrayal of Matt Murdock, which I do think is a good portrayal, that makes me be like, man, like, especially in episode 3, I'm like, you're doing the right thing, and I'm still annoyed at you, and I don't know, I don't know why this is happening. Like, I'm like, why do you have me siding with the DA in this situation where you're like, hey man, like, let's bring the fact that he's a vigilante up. I'm like, fuck you, man, what are you doing? But I think that is a hurdle I have to get over. I also think it's probably a bad thing that I was like, I'm glad Foggy's dead. Like, he was a main sticking point for me in the Netflix series. I'm like, dude, like, you know what the deal is. I can't watch you consistently get annoyed with him and being like, but Matt, the case. I'm like, you need to walk away like Karen did. Eventually, when she found out, she's like, oh, I don't like this, I'm gone. And I was like, good, yeah, that is the right response if you're not down to like be with Matt in his daredevilness.
Yeah, but the thing is, the one thing you got to remember is that Foggy's like his family. Now, think about family in real life. The family is usually the people that you give chance after chance to before finally walking away.
Sure.
this is what I'm saying. I don't think it's good that I'm happy he's gone. Because he should be there. Like that is, I think he's an important character. I think the three of them together is what a lot of people cite as what they loved about the Netflix show.
Do you know that there's a way to bring him back?
I do know that. I've heard.
Ed Brubaker did write a story where he was shot in the chest when he was Matt's lawyer when Matt was in jail, and Matt was assured that he was dead because he couldn't hear his heartbeat anymore. They were able to whisk him away, and he showed up in the comics a year later under witness protection. So if they wanted to, they could undo it.
Oh, yeah. Every time I hear someone talk about that, I'm like, damn it. Like it's
You're like, no, I wish they would just commit to the bit. And I'm glad that you brought that up because there is that Easter egg 468 in the first episode where they're like, that's the issue where he goes into witness protection and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And there are like right now, if they're not committing to it, misdirections, obviously. I'm like, oh, that's very consistent with the Marvel brand, right? But in that sense, I keep asking myself, what purpose does that serve, and how does he fake his own death when he didn't know of the attack coming and all those types of things? Right. So there's a lot that's like, there's evidence in the comics that he gets brought back and all this kind of stuff, and even in the Defenders series on Netflix, Matt gets brought back, but I mean under very different circumstances with the hand. Whether or not that's going to be an element in this, I don't know. But the idea of like, it could be reasoned that he does get brought back, and I think one of the biggest things to me is like knowing that the I don't know the position, so I'm going to use the word director in this, but has gone on in the interviews to be like, Foggy and Karen are back in season 2. And I'm like, what? Okay, maybe we're doing flashbacks. Maybe we're committing to the witness protection stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, okay, he comes back. So sorry, Daniel, he's gonna annoy us in some way, shape, or form.
He might not. Like it's a different group of people writing. I know they brought back the same fight coordinator, but I don't think it's the same people telling the story. And I know that it does feel like they're trying to cut off the Netflix stuff. But to me, it's very clear that they like want you to still feel like this can be a season 4. So I do think that in that way, bringing him back would mean that they already know they did those beats of like, hey, Matt, like I want you to do the right thing, and I get annoyed when you're Daredevil. I think they already know they did those beats. So if they bring him back, it could be fine. I'm just saying I was happy he was gone when it happened.
Fair enough.
And I don't say that proudly or like, that was a good choice. I'm just like, I think that speaks to my lack of love for those characters.
Fair enough.
And this show could turn me around. Like I think famously, the first few Disney Plus shows in particular made me like characters I never cared about before. And so that was over the course of the whole season. It's not like the first episode I was like, now I like it. Like I was just like, after this season I like these characters. I'm invested, and that could happen if they bring back Foggy. So I'm doing a bit when I say damn it. I was more just like, okay. Like if they know what they're doing, I'll feel great about it.
No, totally. Now, of course the reaction, the line crossed, Bullseye getting thrown off the roof, that whole thing. I called the Bullseye getting thrown off the roof when I saw the trailer. So when it happened, I was like, yes, vindicated. I knew that was going to happen. Of course, in Daredevil issue 181 from 1980, after the death of Elektra, Matt Murdock famously throws Bullseye off of a clothesline hanging between 2 buildings, and he hits the ground. Of course, in this, he's already gotten the back broken and has the impenetrable spine. That's why he gets up and walks away from this at first. But in the comics, that was what led to the adamantium spine. But I was just like, because like just something about seeing in the trailer the mask floating down in the air.
Sure.
That I went, he's just throwing Bullseye off the roof. Yeah. If he's giving up being Daredevil, he's just throwing Bullseye off a roof. And sure enough, it was. And I was like, yes.
I like having moments like that where you're like, I know how to, because I don't think you're watching to be surprised by every single thing. You are also watching to be like, oh, I like how they've
adapted,
adapted, but honored what I like about these comics and moments I like. So I do think that that's a good moment as well. I guess we haven't talked directly about Bullseye thing. I know he doesn't talk a lot even in the Netflix show, but I was kind of like, what's his deal? And again, there's still 6 more episodes. We could learn what he was trying to do, or I guess you could just say, you don't have to say what it is. But did he have like a thing here, or is it just what I assume that he just likes fucking with Daredevil?
So I'll be honest, because again, I watched all this stuff. The full 9 episodes I watched in a binge on the night that I got them, which was 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
And so I can't 100. I'm pretty sure that yes, there is an answer to the question that is more than just Bullseye fucking around.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but in case I'm remembering it wrong, I will withhold and wait until we cover those episodes.
We can get there when we get there. I just was like, there's got to be more to this, because he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure. Well, he's got 2 lines: "Hey Karen," or "Hello Karen," and "I've got nothing to say."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, oh, I wish he said something during the fight. Like, and I know that's not his character, but I was just, as someone looking to be invested, I'm like, I kind of want to know what your deal is, man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I get you on that. But the fight itself, I'm happy that they did it the way they did it. I'm happy that and I thought the idea of going with the the long shot again, which was a classic staple of the Daredevil series from Netflix.
Yep.
But it's kind of, again, us film nerds can catch where the cuts were.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, okay, that's where they cut, sort of thing. And that's what we're looking for. We enjoy that because it's like, oh, it's right there, but most people are going to miss that. That's cool. But yeah, I thought that was to think that they weren't going to have an action sequence involving Daredevil at the beginning of the series kind of surprises me. That originally that wasn't there, and we were going to get multiple episodes of Daredevil not being of Matt Murdock not being Daredevil without one little taste of Daredevil right at the beginning, which that's what this is. This is a little taste.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good call, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see him in the suit. I've seen the discourse online of like, well, they should just call this Matt Murdock instead of Daredevil. I'm not like that. I am.
See, true Daredevil fans know that Matt Murdock is the crux of Daredevil. So every time you're reading a Daredevil comic, it's Matt Murdock. That's just it. It's more about the guy in the suit than the suit.
Yeah. Whereas I am like, not for these 3 episodes. I haven't felt that way. But when I watched the Netflix show, I was like, you gotta put the suit on, man. Like, especially since that first season was like, hey man, you keep getting cut up, and now you've got a suit that will help you with that. And he's kind of like, gonna wear the Under Armour, and I'm like, and then he wears it for a lot of season 2, and then season 3 is out of it again. And I was like, come on, guys.
Well, that is the crux of having a different showrunner for every season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that I think. I already knew that. I had 3 seasons of Prime of like, he's not going to be in that suit. I don't know if that's a Charlie Cox thing where he doesn't like the suit, and I know in the comics you spend a lot of time with him not in the suit as well.
No, to tell you the truth, it really is throughout the Netflix stuff. It was the showrunner's preferences.
Okay,
the reason why he's not in the suit through most season 3 is because the showrunner didn't like the suit, and was like, I kind of liked how he looked in the first one.
Yeah.
So let's put him in the black and the black shirt again and everything, because I thought that was cool. And so.
Fair enough. No, you know what? Yeah. I, as I said, I've already been primed to be like, we're not going to have him in the suit a lot, and that's fine. I just like the suit, and so having it up top was good. I thought that was a fun way to be like, knowing where these seasons usually go. I'm like, well, at least I got this in the first episode.
Yeah, it would have been a huge mistake, and I would have been like, I hate it if they didn't give us a small little taste of like the action and all that kind of stuff. And they're just like, they got the vibe of the action from that with a long shot and all that. It really was really, really good. And then now I'm just like, all right, we're just waiting until it comes back. I'm kind of okay with that. I'm kind of okay with that.
There you go.
Especially because Andrew, one of the episodes, and I think it was the Ben Affleck one, where you jokingly referred to Matt Murdock as fuckboy Matt.
Yeah, that's actually a nickname that my co-host from Back Issue Blood, Patula Neal, came up with, and so we lovingly call him Fuckboy Matt.
Yeah, and then ever since you referred to him as Fuckboy Matt, I'm like, you're right, that does make him more interesting. As like a fictional character, I'm like, this is way more interesting. I like the fact that he sleeps around. It's just all this kind of stuff, and it makes it so much more interesting, and it actually makes the Foggy thing way more, right? To me, it's just like it goes in a direction that I didn't really think that if you took away the heart of a fuckboy, do they actually just do the thing that everyone was asking them to do, which is like, hey, don't be Daredevil anymore, which is kind of weird. Or like, do you just go completely unhinged and just like, do your fuckboy things times 10, you know what I mean? And so this is to me a really, really interesting look at it, because I would have thought, okay, you take away Foggy, you take away Karen, he's just gonna unhinge himself, and that apparently was not the case. He's just like, nope, straight up and fly right.
This version is a fuckboy. I don't like. I feel
no. Okay,
I do disagree with that.
Here's the thing. You go back to season 1. He just meets Night Nurse because she nicks him back down. They start fucking.
Yeah.
He starts dating Karen, but as soon as Elektra shows up, they start fucking.
Yeah.
He's not fully out of the Karen thing yet when he's fucking Elektra.
Yep.
Then and then like now it isn't. He's acting more mature because we're on Disney Plus than compared to Netflix. But Matt, that is still intrinsic in his nature, is that his carnal knowledge of things takes over his logical knowledge a lot of times.
I mean, sure. I think what I'm getting at is that I wouldn't tie him to being primarily a fuckboy, because what they are definitely doing in this season is trying to talk about the Catholic guilt more as it pertains to him being a vigilante, or like the sensitivity he has around being called a vigilante even. And because obviously that undercuts the righteous is a strong word, but like what he would feel would be a higher calling if you just call him a vigilante, and I think that's what he's tied to. So I don't see him as being like, oh, Foggy's gone, I'm gonna just keep being a fuckboy, because what he wanted to do was be this elevated thing as Daredevil to do the stuff he can't do in the courtroom, and with that Catholic guilt always being like, oh, but don't go too far, and then he went too far, and he's like, I gotta shut this down. So that's why I don't think this version of him is primarily a fuckboy. I think they want him to be sexual because Marvel in general, MCU in general, is not sexual. But I don't see him as
right.
And you've seen all 9 episodes, maybe.
Yeah, and I will add in. I'm going to add in that, because that's what when I said to Ben that we referred to him lovingly as a fuckboy. It is not in the negative traditional connotation of what a fuckboy is. It's just more the idea that he fucks a lot. Yes.
Yeah. So that's, and I guess that's what I was pushing back against, because of what Ben was saying. It just felt like you were giving him more the traditional term of fuckboy, which I don't think is what Matt Murdock is, even in Netflix or this.
For sure. He does fuck, but it's that perspective of, oh, he's a fuckboy, and just like, okay, this does make it more interesting. I hate that. It's kind of like the Foggy thing for you. I'm like, I hate that. It does make it a little more interesting to me. So
that's fair.
Yeah, like to me, a fuckboy would be like, I'm playing these people, whereas, and maybe this is just me not revisiting the Netflix. It always felt like he's someone who falls hard, which is different. Like, so he fell for Night Nurse, he fell for Karen Page, and then his old flame Elektra comes back, so he's gonna like go back into that. Didn't feel like he was trying to play these people, but maybe
but I feel like if you were to actually take the fact that we're the omnipresent viewer out of it and just take it from the perspective of the women, I bet you Karen probably feels like he's a bit of a fuckboy.
Oh yeah, probably
because of what again. Why are they just friends at the beginning of season 4 and at the end of season 3? Because Matt fucked up twice during the Netflix series. So I think it's all about perspective. Matt doesn't intend to be a fuckboy, but I think certain actions that he does makes him a fuckboy in the eyes of some of his past relations.
Yeah, and
I seem pretty close in 4 though. Like that first episode, her just being like, "Hey, like let's go home right now," doesn't feel like I'm worried about what's.
Yeah, but it's come on. When you have the talents of Matt Murdock, it's hard to not succumb to them. You know.
I guess I just don't feel that bad for Karen Page.
I
think she left because on principle of you kept something from me about being Daredevil.
Right. No,
it doesn't mean the bed gymnastics are not bad. You know what I mean?
There you go. But since we are talking about Matt Murdock and fucking and everything like that, I think we can talk a little bit about Heather Glenn.
Yes,
who is the basically he gets set up with Heather Glenn. In this, she is a psychiatrist. In the comics, it's a totally different character. It's very much like they just took the name Heather Glenn.
Okay.
Because in the comics, Heather Glenn represents the worst relationship that Matt Murdock participated in. Okay. Because if you actually go back and read the comics, he essentially was a fuckboy with her.
Yeah.
Right.
She ended up killing herself in the series because their relationship didn't work out. So it is like when it comes to Matt Murdock and relationships, Heather Glenn is the biggest black mark on that report card. And that might play in. That might play into where the story's going.
That I feel like it's got to. I mean, I didn't know you were going that way with it, but I was like, I don't know. She seems a bit shifty as well. I don't know what's going on there. Like, just the look in her eye as she's sitting across from Fisk and Vanessa. I was just like, something's going on here. I'm very interested to see where she goes with this.
Okay. But yeah, like Heather Glenn, of course, from the comics. Of course, they were set up by his law partner,
Kirsten McDuffie.
Kirsten McDuffie, Kirsten McDuffie is actually from the comics as well, from Mark Waid's run. She was the love interest for Matt Murdock, who started out as assistant DA, eventually fell for Matt. And then when Matt reveals to the state of New York that he is Daredevil and is then disbarred, him and Kirsten move to San Francisco and start the Murdock McDuffie law firm there.
Okay.
So it's interesting that they have her here because I'm like, okay, she's a friend, but they put that character specifically there in case they want to go in future seasons to that being a possible relationship.
Because she starts off hitting on Foggy.
Yes, which here's the thing. I thought that the way that was very interesting because in the comics when they introduce her, talking to Matt Murdock saying, "You're not going to be able to try every case you try now is going to be like kangaroo court because everybody thinks you're Daredevil. So you might want to rethink for your client's sake how you approach these cases." And she leaves. The next time she's seen in the comic, she's walking into Nelson and Murdoch's office, and the entire time Foggy's looking for his tie. And she walks over and she goes, "Were you looking for this?" And hands it to him, kind of implying, "Oh, were they? Huh." Then the next time we see her, it's at her apartment, and Foggy is looking around for his shoe.
Okay.
And it seems like it really implies like they're a couple. And then he suddenly, but she keeps saying, "I think Matt Murdock is Daredevil, blah, blah, blah." And Foggy's like, no, he's not Daredevil. It's fine. It's not Daredevil. He goes, if you want to know more about Matt, why don't you just go on a date with him? And then she kind of turns and you find out that it's actually McDuffie's roommate that was dating Foggy.
Got it.
And so it felt like having her come onto Foggy there was a tip of the hat to the bait and switch from the comic.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of cute how they did that. Yeah.
I liked their interaction.
They had great. They
I'm
had
always
great
a fan
chemistry.
of Foggy away from Matt. I'm always like, yeah, man, go for it.
Far away from Matt.
No, they could be in the same room.
Because what was it like the one of the Netflix seasons where it's like, yeah, I'm breaking down and doing my own thing, and he gets with the other lawyer that I don't
remember that.
I can't remember that.
The
lawyer.
One that called him Foggy Bear.
Yeah, the blonde, the blonde, and I'm just like, okay, this is Foggy's got game too. I think Matt has rubbed off a lot on Foggy in
There you
that
go.
fuck boy
Yeah, they've been
mannerism.
friends for quite a bit. So
Yep.
yeah, he would learn some stuff.
Yep.
But also Cherry, the detective guy, I think he's a new character. I couldn't find anything from the comics.
Yeah.
I just thought that actor was in the Netflix series, and then I was like, oh, I guess he's just new. Like he just looks. I mean, I've seen him in other things, but I was like, yeah, I remember him, and only to be like in the second episode, wait, I'm pretty sure he isn't in the Netflix series.
Well,
I
I mean,
oh yeah, I definitely remember him as the cop. Yeah.
Because I'm with you there because I'm like, wait, that's the same actress that played Josie in the Netflix thing and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, was he in the Netflix? And then I'm like, okay, no, it's a brand new character. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but
I guess I should have rewatched the Netflix series, but I was just so like, yeah, got it. Yeah, this guy, of course, that makes sense. He's retiring. I remember all the work he did.
No, different cop was the main cop in the Daredevil series. Yeah.
I like him as a character. I'm very interested to see what happens with him because I definitely was like in the third episode. I'm like, oh, he's gonna get killed by these cops.
Yeah.
I was like, 100%. They're gonna be like, well, you're not a cop anymore. I know that that's not how the blue line works, but I was just like, they're gonna rough him up, but they didn't. So I was happy. Yeah, I think I should. Wait, no. What else should we talk about in the first episode?
Well, okay. Well, I want to say that when they do the 1 year later jump,
yes,
they needle drop. They literally needle drop because it shows that it's his record player, and they're playing the Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds song "Into My Arms." It starts with, "I don't believe in an interventionist God, but I know, darling, that you do." I have a feeling, just also because, like, later on we see him stand by a church and he listens, that because of what's happened, Foggy's connection to, Matt's connection to his faith has waned now. That he's no longer connected the way it was. And if you think about Daredevil season 3 with the death of the priest that he had the connection with and everything, and the fact that his own mother was keeping from him that she was actually a nun and all that sort of stuff, and then now to have Foggy gone, I feel like that song is specific, almost kind of getting you ready as the audience to go like, okay, Matt's really not going to be faith-based in this. Now, I don't know if that's a Disney thing or if that's we want to explore this and this will come back, but I feel very much from that moment, just from that song and the way it's laid there, that it's like, the Catholic imagery that we use throughout it and talking about Catholic guilt and everything, not going to be done as much here.
I obviously you've seen the 9 episodes, so it obviously doesn't happen in this 9 episodes, but I do hope that it comes back because I do think it's an important part of
I do too,
him.
yeah.
I just saw it as he got rid of the daredevilness, but also thought he lost the privilege of engaging the way he did with his faith before. I feel like that should only extend to like going into church, like him standing outside of one and listening was enough for me to like, right, he doesn't feel like he can actually cross the threshold.
Okay.
But if it is really, you've just put in my head that maybe Disney was like, no, back off of that.
That's
Disney has done that before. Like not, and like I'm talking like not with just Catholicism, but with other faiths too,
certainly
right?
With Judaism.
Certainly with Judaism, but also Muslim faith has been dialed back in certain situations.
There's been specific Palestinian actors who've been cut out of stuff, like even within the last like month.
So there you go. Yeah, so
I took it more as the Disney censorship board coming like, okay, they did enough of that, so let's try to move on. But like, I think there's conflict in there for sure, but I also do think like, okay, this is a Disney thing. I think personally,
that's really. I mean, I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I feel like it's a real swing and a miss then, because that is just a flat out bad idea. Also, obviously, this was made with. I mean, the White Tiger actor died in 2023, so obviously this was like made before the Trump presidency. But he's bringing all that stuff back, so it doesn't even really feel like it's of the times to back off of specifically a Catholic hero.
No, true, totally, I agree with that. And you bring up we'll talk later about the fact that the actor did pass away, because apparently he was visibly affected on set, and they actually did have to change some things in the shoot around him. Yeah, so like it's some hardcore stuff.
Yep.
Another thing I wanted to bring about the first episode is the what was it again? Oh yeah, so when Dexter Poindexter Bullseye is sentenced at the sentencing thing, after Matt sits down, they're actually doing the sentence. They zoom in on Karen Page, but Matt Murdock is out of focus. Now, of course, it's to show that that all the counts are guilty, that he's going to serve the 11 life sentences, all that sort of stuff. She's to show her resolve, like she feels like, yes, good, vindication, good, that's going to happen. He should suffer. If you're watching Matt, though, out of focus, he's kind of doing like the shaking where it's almost like he's like, yes, he's going away, but it's almost like he's like filled with rage still. I couldn't stop looking at that because I was just sort of like, that's an interesting choice. That it's like Matt is like dealing with like 3 or 4 different feelings in that moment, and they decided to shoot that out of focus.
That is very interesting because I do think with dialogue wise, he is setting you up for that in terms of him, how he's delivering this dialogue, but what is written on the page of, no justice is going to happen today, but you can't punish this guy. And then you think of, well, he can't punish him. He's going to have to look at other people punish him. Yep. So there would be that frustration within him of getting what he wants, which is Bullseye being punished, but he can't punish him the way he would like to punish him.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that, and I thought that was all there, which I thought was pretty cool.
No, I want to rewatch that. I didn't see him out of focus. I guess I was focusing on Karen, but that's very interesting. I like that is there, not just in the silent acting of it. That's really cool.
I really, really appreciated the scene with Matt and Karen on the bench and chatting outside the courtroom after the sentencing and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that they were talking over each other, it made it way more personal than like any kind of other interaction where it's like, okay, line, your turn now kind of deal. Like the fact that they brought that energy to that, I'm like, this is great tension in this scene, and I really feel for what that loss is between the two of them,
they're totally pissed off at each other because they both blame the other person for not handling it right. It's very much like when a child dies and two parents can't resolve their relationship anymore. That's what it felt like to me.
I mean, I'm sure you'll go into it more, but I feel like you were saying you were bummed that they couldn't get it, and I was like, that was good. I like that there's that pain there of that they couldn't get it together because they have their own relationships with this person, and then that affects their, like, that triangle there of relationships and how that affects. And that is the tragedy of it, that like parents who can't see each other anymore after a kid dies, they can't really see each other. It'll remind them of each other, but also the resentment of like, are you there for me, or am I gonna have to be there for you, and all of that, so that you just kind of distance yourself. And I thought that was a very real and well observed thing to put into the show.
And I thought it was a nice little Easter egg that Karen moved to San Francisco. Because of course during the Mark Waid run, that's where Daredevil went. But also back in the 70s, Daredevil and Black Widow operated out of San Francisco as well. So Matt Murdock has his own ties to San Francisco in the comics.
Him and Kirsten can go there later.
There you go. Actually, I hope they don't, because that was when, for me, the Mark Waid's run sucked when they moved to San Francisco. Okay. But anyways, some people enjoy it, not me. Ooh, but I think that's everything I wanted to say about episode 1. Anybody? You guys?
I've seen people say that the whole Wilson Fisk becoming mayor happened too quickly, and I was just like, I mean, I feel like that's just, they're just getting to the point of his arc. I didn't feel that went on too quick or went too fast. It's what he wanted to do, and he made it happen. And I like that it means that for the rest of the season, or at least for the 2 episodes that follow, he's constantly having to be like, oh man, like I guess I have to be the mayor instead of doing things the way I would have, or my wife is out there doing things the way I would have, and I don't really need that either. I need it, and I just like that it causes complications for him, that we got to that right away, and we don't have to worry about the build up to it. It's just like, he won, and that's another blow to Matt, who put on display how shitty that guy is, and everyone was like, still gonna vote for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, very, very, very accurate to where we are now. One of the things I will say, and this is not directly related to Daredevil, it's more my frustration with how they branded the Echo series, is the idea of like, it happens in a vacuum. Like, clearly it doesn't. Everything you're saying is justifying the fact that even with the references and all that kind of stuff and the playful banter back and forth, like, oh, she got you in the face. I'm like,
but that was Hawkeye.
No, yes, yeah, but also the Echo stuff, and it's just
he continues to talk about the mentoring.
Yeah, he tried to mentor her and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, this is just,
that wasn't Hawkeye, but the repercussions are like he does try to continue to mentor her in Echo by trying to bring her back into the fold.
Yeah, and
I just feel like that you could see that as them not acknowledging Echo. Especially with the whole, I have an eye that can read sign language, and that's clearly not a part of this.
Sure. Well, yeah, that's true. It's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, they should have just been like, this is connected, because it clearly is. Because I mean, from the perspective of, that's where he gets the idea to get the mayor thing, if that's where we're drawing it from. And I'm like, I'm with you. I'm like, yeah, just get to the mayor thing. Just do Mayor Fisk, like right away. I'm a big fan of that. I don't think it was too slow, because I'm like, I don't want to hear his campaign speeches. I don't want to do that. Just make a mayor and then let us see what the struggle is, right? I think this is much more interesting. I'm like, we know how elections work.
Yeah. But also, Ben, you mentioned earlier about not being able to get into the BB report.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For me, for some reason, BB Report, even though it's a totally different thing, just the way that they had the random cutaways made me feel like it was like, this is the man on the street dramatic version of Chicken Shop Date.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. Because they always have the random cutaways in Chicken Shop Date. So.
They do.
Yeah, I'm also with Ben on not. I like the character, but you don't even really, when we're doing the actual BB. Was it BB on the street? What is it called?
BB Report.
BB Report. Yep. You're looking at the people who are giving their opinion. I know there's one shot of her in the first episode where you see her before they do the clapperboard, but I like her when she's talking to Wilson Fisk or even what's his name, Daniel Gandolfini. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, I want to see her on screen. I would like it if we were engaging with that actress, because I find her very interesting.
Yeah.
Right. No, I get that. Although I do find that the one guy who does the whole good versus evil versus evil, good versus good, I thought that was a little part. That little part was good.
There are good moments. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a nice artistic flex to be able to cut to that kind of stuff, for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't begrudge them wanting to try different things, different aspect ratios, different quality to the visuals. But it is something where I'm just like, nah. I mean, I'd like to see BB more, so maybe just that on top of more BB on screen doing things.
Right.
Yeah, because now it just seems, especially in episode 3, it just feels like, she's being used as a pawn to get Fisk's stuff, and Fisk being very smart to use her as a pawn in all that regard. But I'm just like, oh man, without establishing BB, it's just kind of tragic.
Is the trick though, by when they have the first interaction between her and Fisk, it's revealed that she's Ben Urich's niece. And in season 1 of the Daredevil series, Kingpin killed Ben Urich.
God.
So
you would have. I've just been assuming that she is letting him think she's being used so that she can get next to him.
It could be, because he did. Okay. Kingpin even did say right there that she seems like someone who's underestimated often.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm willing to let the show take its time on that, but I do think that she's very obviously trying to get next to him, not just because he's the mayor. She wants to get next to the person who killed her uncle.
I completely forgot about that connection. Which, by the way, I'm like, oh, okay, that's awesome. I gotta percolate on that.
Yeah, I'm named for my uncle, and then he goes, right, Ben Urich, I knew him, and I'm like, I feel like after watching it a couple times,
Mhm.
I feel like she is reacting to that silently. Of like,
Mm.
I knew him. I think she is reacting to that.
Gotcha.
Okay, now I want to talk about the biggest mistake in episode 2.
Okay,
Sure.
here we go.
The pothole.
Yes.
There should have been a mention that Spider-Man or somebody else had a fight, and that's what caused the pothole.
So here, yeah.
Because then it would tie into his whole vigilantes are a problem thing.
Absolutely.
It just
I 100%
2 lines
agree.
of dialogue, and you've got that extra weight to it.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. I agree, but I also we know we can't see Spider-Man in a show, but it is just weird invoking him because I'm like, everyone keeps being like, well, Daredevil's gone. I'm like, yeah, but you got White Tiger. You got a Spider-Man who ostensibly would be way more effective than a White Tiger. Maybe not more than a Daredevil, but he's going to be... So, like, are you guys really hurting for heroes in New York, or what's going on here? Because it's like, we can only focus on one at a time, and we can't focus on the big guy who would have a big crater like that, like Spider-Man fighting someone at that level. And I'm just like,
right, but also you got to remember,
remember
Spider-Man now doesn't have all of his cool gadgets, is very street level. Maybe he's gone back down to... but maybe he's gone back down to just being, quote unquote, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Is just handling stuff in Queens, and that's it.
Sure.
Yeah. I would still think he would be somebody that people feel like has taken over for Daredevil. I feel like there's still
you got to remember the
people
public
than when
still
Daredevil
doesn't like Spider-Man.
Do they not?
No, if you think back to the third film, because there are still people that believe, oh, you killed Mysterio.
Yeah. The timelines of it gets a little bit murky, but I
thought they just didn't. I guess they remember Spider-Man.
People don't remember Peter. People who knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man wouldn't remember that. Yeah,
they just know that there is a Spider-Man.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right about that. That glaringly big issue. I'm like, they already name dropped Spider-Man in the first episode, right, or the second episode?
Beginning of the second episode.
Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, well, I mean, you could reference him. You don't need to show us how it was made, but be like, you're adding to his thing against vigilantes would have been so much stronger to be like, yeah, that was a clear miss. Big one to me, because I'm like, that's not a pothole. There's no way that's a pothole.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's somebody smashed the rhino into this hole.
Yeah. Like something fell or what? Like, just make it about a superhero related thing. And
now there was some people who had the theory that he caused the pothole so that he
Daredevil,
could fix it. No, Kingpin.
Oh, Kingpin.
So that he could fix it. I thought that was a far stretch, and I don't agree with that.
I think the show has, in these first 3 episodes, shown you when he would have been angling towards that. Like, one of my favorite scenes is the cheesesteak scene. Like, they're showing you what he's doing to manipulate a situation, or the fact when he's talking to Daniel, like, yeah, bring in that reporter friend of yours. We're gonna use her to like get across our message and stuff. I feel like. I don't know if he caused that pothole. I think that was supposed to show like, oh, he's gonna get the optics he needs without doing it the way his handler is trying to tell him to do it. Like,
he's gonna do it and ostensibly doing it in a way that, he'll fill the pothole in it. And everybody, he's getting things done, but it's not really anything. It's a pothole on one street. Yeah.
But it also could lead to a problem if you're like, just do it. And like no one actually took the time to figure out what needs to actually get done.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. Which, it's like going, hey, we need to save a bunch of money. Let's cut all the funding for everything in our country. That's not going to cause any problems, something like that.
What's everyone so upset about?
Yeah, I don't understand.
But I will say, in honor of the whole cheesesteak scene that you brought up, I did eat a cheesesteak tonight.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
I've been trying to angle at getting a cheesesteak. Because I was like, I know he doesn't like him, but I'm a big fan.
Ill Style Sammy's on Richmond.
That's where I want to go tomorrow.
Right across from the movie theater. I went there today.
Yeah.
I always have a just more personal. So every time I go there, I'm like, I hope he thinks I'm cool. Like I don't want to mess up my order because he's got such a way.
I feel that way too.
Like...
I do feel that way as well. I walk in and I actually say very little because I don't want him to judge me.
Because like normally I would make certain alterations to the sandwich, but I'm just like, whatever you say, that's what I'm getting. Don't worry about it. I just want you to like me.
It was like a soup Nazi situation. That's hilarious.
No, he's just very like I watched the bad version of it, which was some guy coming in and clearly not having a concept of what a cheesesteak is. He's like, so wait, what do I get on a chicken? He's like, it's the same thing on all the sandwiches, just the meat changes. He's like, oh, so which one's I'm like, oh my god. Like, this is why I just go like, can I get a cheesesteak? Like,
yeah.
I make alterations on mine. He always asks me if I want American. I always say no, provolone.
Okay, there you go.
And when he names off all the condiments, I just say barbecue and hot sauce. I don't want the ketchup on there. I don't want the.
Maybe he appreciates your confidence instead of me being like, whatever you want.
Here's the thing, though. I hate going there with Petula because they are like buddies.
Oh,
and so they go on there like, and then I feel so uncool because it's like it's obvious that he thinks Petula's cool.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, I really liked the whole this cop thinks he's going to bully me. I'm gonna get him back.
Yeah.
But I also liked that the cop was like, yeah, man, be careful what you wish for. I'm like, I like this guy. He's gonna fight back.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a big scene for me. I feel like just getting to the third episode, but is there anything else in the second episode we should really
okay. Another symbolism thing that I thought was really cool is that when Matt has the fight with the two cops at the end of episode 2, after everything goes down, he picks up his glasses and the one glass is all cracked and he puts it on. I feel like that symbolizes the crack because the past year Matt's had this quote unquote perfect life. He's moving up in the world. He's living the Matt life. The veneer of not needing Daredevil is cracked at this moment. And it's almost like, is this the beginning of him going back to his old ways?
I would say so. Just because like, and this is not my idea, but like in that fight scene, I'm like, he is Daredevil again. He's just not wearing the outfit and all that kind of stuff. But he, like what you said, that the whole guilt of enjoying the violence that comes with it. I'm like, it was very cathartic. I saw it to be cathartic for him to let out that visceral, scream and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, great. He got to take a little bit of the edge off. It's kind of like a shame cigarette after a night drinking, right? But it for me, anyways. But the idea of it's starting to crack, it's coming through, and I think episode 3 does a very good job of being like, look at how far he's willing to go to defend this guy. I mean, aside from him, like that to me is a battle of like, can I do this as Matt Murdock, or can I do this as a vigilante again and all that kind of stuff? I think the crack is starting to show, and I really, really do enjoy that.
Yeah,
because it means costume. Because I'm with you, Daniel. I'm like, the fact that they kept him out of costume for so much of those seasons, I'm like, God,
just put
give us the freaking costume.
But I am also aware that this is the story, so I am not like, come on, quickly. I am like, let him get there. But
yes,
I have heard people be like, it happens in the last episode. Maybe it happens in the last episode. I'm like, no, that's the first season again. just put. But yeah, and whenever he gets in there, he gets in there. But yeah, as you said, he's doing it. He just doesn't have the suit on in that scene. Not after that, but in that scene, yeah, he's really indulging. Because the second time watching it through, I'm like, wow, he's really like, I feel like he could have done this way more effectively. He is enjoying.
Oh yeah,
them. Like he could have taken them down, and he's just like, nah, I'm gonna hit your head off of this a couple more times.
No, I'm gonna make it hurt. Yeah,
and I will say, I'm like, I thought he killed. There was a lot of speculation with the neck crack and all that kind of stuff. The way he landed, I'm like, I thought he straight up killed again.
Yeah, I think having that week between 2 and 3, I was just like, oh, I just assumed he didn't kill because that's his whole thing. But
sure.
Obviously, visually, it looks like he killed them. But I was just like, I just feel like he didn't, because then we're really not getting anywhere with his whole I've crossed the line.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then in episode 3, you'd think that if he killed one of the cops, the other cop that confronts him in the bathroom would have brought that up.
Yeah, like, hey man, I do like that he doesn't feel like he might be a vigilante. He's just like, so you're just like a blind guy who's a lawyer and could fight. Like, I don't know what end it would be, but I feel like he should have been pushing a little bit more on like, man, what's your deal? What are you up to? I got my eye on you. Yeah, third episode is the trial. I think this is where my hurdles crystallize with Matt Murdock, which is he did the whole we have to make sure that we suppress that he's a vigilante, and then without discussing it with his client outs him, and I'm just like, I understand that you needed to make that play, but it does feel like there was room, if I'm to believe you feel some kinship to this guy beyond this, that you would let him in on what your plan is here, because even if he wasn't going to give him a choice of whether or not he was going to do it, I feel like you would at least, I would have liked to have seen him give him the courtesy of being like, this is what we're doing. You might not like it, but this is what we're doing.
I will go you one better. Him revealing that mask and throwing it out there in a real court would not be admissible at all, because he did not present to the judge or the district attorney that was an exhibit.
Yeah, that's not.
And also going against exactly what he had told, like the whole thing where the judge was like, you basically lied to me, that whole thing. The judge wouldn't be so lenient about that. The judge would be like, yeah, you know what? You're in contempt of this court, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I think it would have had to have been that McDuffie finishes it, because the judge walks through why they have to keep going.
Yes.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to keep going, but I think you're right in that the judge was like, but you're off the case. Like, you're out of here, man. Like, fuck you. Yeah. I think there was just something about taking that person's life into his own hands without giving them that felt icky.
Reckless.
Kind of like a
there's the
fuckboy.
Reckless part, and I understand people are online are arguing like, because this is whole thing he's trying to prove to himself, and I'm like, yeah, there's something about him not connecting with this person on that level that doesn't sit well with me. It felt very like, I know what's best for you, and I would like to see him not be like that with this particular character, given what they share beyond just like, hey, you were trying to do the right thing.
And like this is to me the crack showing and fuckboy Matt coming back. Like I love the fact that the show goes to be like they were trying to coordinate strategy for the next day, and he never mentions this at all. He's just like, well, he says the thing of like, well, we got to tell the truth and all that kind of stuff, and hope the people will find him. And he's like, nope, he had a different plan because he had the mask with him and all that kind of stuff. So he must have gone to his apartment, got this and all that. It was just all these things. I'm like, that's a fuckboy move. That's a fuckboy move to just go rogue.
It's very much using the Hail Mary pass, and the fact, you're right, the fact that he had the mask ready, sitting in his bag, means that he, at some level, was always like, I might need this as a Hail Mary pass to get out of this, which, without, as you brought up, Daniel, not ever talking to Hector about it, is a total bullshit move, which is what I actually like, that, because the idea is that Murdoch, what I've always enjoyed is that he doesn't make the right play all the time. Sometimes he is the bad guy in the situation, but he's the bad guy because he thinks he's doing the right thing. And it plays on the flawed hero element of Daredevil in a way that wouldn't work with a Spider-Man or a Batman.
They're just different characters. I think it is important to have. That's why I said up top, it's proof that I don't really like the character, because I don't think they're actually making mistakes. Like I don't look at that and say like, no, it should have gone this way objectively. I think it is exactly what you're doing. Is highlighting why he is different, and I don't think they're trying to prove a point that he's different than these characters, but it is a very clear thing of like, this is what makes Matt Murdock in some ways, and that's what makes him different.
Yeah, because he's a little bit crazy. That's the thing. It's like there's that he's on a very thin thread. He's a very thin thread, and I feel they do a good job of making that look realistic, because like people can do that in movies to show that somebody's a very thin thread, and suddenly you've got like Murdoch from the A-Team. It's like, it's like, you're not really
twitchy,
exactly.
It's just like you said, even in that when he's hearing the sentencing. Like it's just this under the surface like thing that's about to pop, but it's not something that dictates how he moves throughout all of it, because obviously he can move very smoothly throughout. And I say these are things that don't work for me, but I don't say them as things that I think should change. I think they need to be a part of a story like this. It's just
It's just saying
it's just clear to me that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, you're not saying they're wrong. You're just saying they don't work for you.
Yes,
Got it.
exactly.
Yes. No, totally. I get you on that.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to bring up a quick thing about when Hector is on the stand. He brings up that he was going to tell his wife that he finally got a separate apartment for them because they've been living with his sister and his niece. In the comics, both his sister and his niece take up the mantle of White Tiger at different times.
Okay.
Yeah, because the magical amulet that gives White Tiger's powers, for some reason, is only connected to their bloodline. It only works for them.
And there's no like comic thing of being like, oh, because they were related to the person that created the amulet or anything like that. Or
I unfortunately, the first appearance of the White Tiger is from the early 70s in a comic that really isn't that well known. So
yeah, that's
I
fair.
have not read that issue, so I don't know the exact on the origin on why, but that's something about their bloodline that gives that the amulet only gives them powers.
Because that's interesting. Because I knew this was definitely a false scoop, but everyone's like, yeah, why am I forgetting? Oh, Jenna Ortega's gonna play White Tiger. I'm like, well, she's not. But obviously, they're angling for like at some point, a niece is going to be, because I'd already seen images of the male White Tiger, and so I'm like, well, okay, well, someone clearly has insights into a female version coming up at some point. Maybe not even in this season or the next, but like at some point they will have a female White Tiger in the MCU, and I was just like, well, it's not going to be Jenna Ortega, but obviously that's what they're thinking ahead toward.
Sure.
So I only know about the niece. I did not know about this. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
There you
go. And that's I will say one thing. I'm like, for him to pull that move is like, put it down, I'm like, I'm pretty sure your sister and your niece were financially dependent on your contributions there to that apartment as well. So is one
they weren't.
No, really? Oh, okay.
No, that was the whole point.
He was feeling like a burden on his sister.
Oh, okay. I completely missed that then.
Yeah, that was the whole point, is that they're living with his sisters.
Sure.
His sister's not living with them.
Right.
That's why he has to get the studio apartment, because she's doing them a solid by letting them live there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I also appreciated the I guess the case, because I didn't feel like Matt completely blew out the DA out of the water. Like I felt like the DA had a strong closing argument too. I saw the flaw in his argument, but I still was like, that's effective for the people in the room. I thought you did a good job of appealing to the people in the room and playing your audience.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like, oh shit, like how are they going to rule? Because like, yeah, Matt was obviously, he led everyone to the logical conclusion, but the DA was pretty good at being like, hey man, like you got to remember he pushed someone in front of a train.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
But like no one is there to be like, he didn't.
Yeah, there was
exactly.
Yeah, that was a very effective thing, because I was like, how is this going to go? I have no idea. Like, and when he got to, he's free and all that kind of stuff. I like that. His downfall came to that discussion he had with Matt earlier. It's like Matt going like, hey, you can't be White Tiger anymore. Like you just straight up can't. He warns him about it, and then like he's like, no, this is my calling. This is what it, and that's what leads him to putting a very big target on his back.
Now, believe it or not, the story that is based on Trial of the Century has a much sadder ending. Because
really?
The jury finds him guilty.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he tries to break out of the courtroom in a, and ends up getting taken down by the cops. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they changed it. I mean, it's still very sad, but that would have been really upsetting.
That would have been a lot. Yeah.
I just think that he had the target regardless, right? Like him putting on the mask, him not putting on it doesn't matter. Like the fact that he's there, as Cherry mentioned, that machine's not turning off. Now that we know we're looking for you, and we also know that you're that vigilante, like now there's two places we can get you, basically.
Yeah. I was actually legit hoping. I'm like, okay, just go to was Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just go to Puerto Rico right away. Just do that. State,
I think Matt was hoping that too.
Yeah,
I felt like he's gonna get killed before he leaves the courtroom. I was like, oh man, like I knew he had to die. Like not just because the actor's dead. I just was like, it's what Sherry already said, so they're not going to stop. But I was like, I don't even know if he's gonna make it out of the courtroom. So I at least breathed a little sigh of relief when he got out of the courtroom. But I was just like, I guess we're just gonna have to watch him die a different way. I guess.
Yeah. He died doing what he loved.
Yeah,
I mean, he died breathing, is what he said. Like, this is, you might as well ask me to stop breathing. I don't even know if he loved it so much. He's like, this is just,
that's just part of who he is.
Yeah.
Again, which was something that was said to Daredevil, because that's something that Matt is trying to deny in himself, is that being Daredevil is like breathing to him as well.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to bring up was the murals. We were talking about the murals. So we see the Kingpin mural.
Yep.
Of the idea of that the mask slipping is that he's trying to put on this mask of being, a straight and narrow type thing, but it's hiding the corruption that is eventually going to be shown again.
Sure.
And then there's the Punisher mural with the word triggered on it.
Yeah.
Which, when you think about these cops with these tattoos, that could be like a allusion to the fact that cops are looking at, are idolizing the Punisher. They're becoming triggered by his ways and becoming trigger happy, so to speak.
I keep thinking, like, I'm really looking forward to the Muse part of this, just because he's a character I don't have any. I knew the female, like the niece version of White Tiger from like that Spider-Man show that came out a while ago, and I know the other characters just from things, but I don't really know Muse. So
he's a relatively new character from the Charles Soule run. He was only in, like, it was a closed, like, beginning and ending type character.
Okay.
That was in the comics. It seemed like his story was done, but because they're using him in this show, they've resurrected him in the comics. They brought him back.
The case. Yeah. He's got to come back. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing something new that way. I'm excited for that. So yeah, something to look forward to in the next.
There you go. There you go.
We've closed out the White Tiger portion of this season.
I definitely am looking forward to seeing, because there's something telling me that Vanessa's a part of the whole Muse angle, in all that, the art world and everything that she's doing right now. Everything's in my gut is being like, okay, that's Vanessa's muscle, but who knows? I know. Well, I mean, not fair.
Someone does.
Andrew,
does know.
We shall see. We shall see.
Yeah, I appreciate you being coy about this and being stone-faced, no reaction whatsoever to any of these things. You're good. You're good for sure. The NDAs are strong. They must be. So I'm just very interested to see the whole Vanessa thing, because it is such a wild element to be like, yeah, you can't do the thing that you want to do, and it's like, well, but I wanna.
She is,
she is, yeah.
Like, she's finding ways anyway.
Yeah,
I definitely what's his name, Buck or something, like the British guy. I thought for sure he was acting on behalf of Wilson Fisk, but then it turns out no, it was Vanessa, and I'm like, all right, well, she's found her outlets, and I'm happy for her in that way.
I like that dialogue, because I'm not acting for the mayor, I'm acting for the man.
Yeah.
Vanessa, I'm like, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good misdirect.
That's good
by
stuff.
The
also,
man.
there's the underlying mystery about what's so funny about Red Hook. What's the deal with Red Hook?
Yeah, they keep mentioning it, but I'm also like, is this supposed to be funny, or is this just like, am I so out of the loop on New York stuff that I'm like, oh,
no, it's not supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be like peculiar. Like, Red Hook. Okay.
All right.
What makes Red Hook so special? Keep that in mind.
There.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I think it's episode 3. There's like bruises on Kingpin's knuckles, so they can do a cool transition to Matt's knuckles. Did I miss something? Like what are they implying with that?
You haven't missed anything yet.
Okay, so
That's
that's
all I'm
something
going
that will
to
be
say.
revealed later.
Yes.
That he's doing up to his old stuff just off screen right now. Like, because I'm like, am I supposed to know what that is, or are
You're
they
not
just
supposed to
planting
know,
a seed right now?
Mhm.
Planting a seed.
Okay.
That's what I suspect. Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, I'm glad I asked that because I'm just like, I'm watching these episodes multiple times, but I'm just like, I do not get what I'm supposed to get out of that versus the Matt of like, yeah, I know where he got that from.
Yeah.
Unless we find Adam caged up somewhere, all beaten up, and then I'm like, okay, got it. Now I get it. They haven't shown Adam, have they? Like, did I miss them showing
Adam has not been shown. No, he's
Okay.
just been talked about.
All right, good to know.
That's Vanessa's lover.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, ex-lover. I guess.
Ex-lover, sure.
For her purposes, ex. I don't know if he actually is. Just
right.
That's what Wilson Fisk needs to think.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like I mentioned everything. I do think that it can only like I'm excited to see what else happens, and as I mentioned, I find that these shows do have a way of getting me on board with characters I didn't really care about before.
Right.
So I am optimistic that I'll get there with Daredevil. You'd think I would be after 3 seasons and even a movie appearance and 2 TV appearances, but I'm just like, this guy doesn't work for me. But he might get there, and I'm excited about that.
Well, let me ask you, who is the character right now that you have been enjoying the most out of this?
McDuffie.
Duffy, okay. How about you, Ben?
I'm on board with Matt. I like the whole fuckboy angle, and like the more I see of what he's doing, I'm like, this is just so much fun. It really, really is.
There we go.
But I will say the thing that's most interesting to me right now is the therapist.
Heather Glenn, okay.
Yep, Heather Glenn to me is like, that is a really, really big like angle here that I'm sure is gonna amount to something big. I just don't know what, but I'm very, very interested in what that's gonna bring out, because it's got an interesting perspective right now that I'm like, okay, could this be like she's playing the Kingpin thing, or it's Kingpin that searched her out to get close to Matt and all that kind of stuff? And I'm just interested to see where that goes for sure.
This doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but does Bullseye know that Daredevil is blind?
I don't think so.
Okay. That makes more sense for the fight they had, because I'm like,
Sure.
why is he throwing so much smoke around? Like, this guy it doesn't make any difference to him. But also it made me realize I don't actually know if he knows he's blind or not.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's I don't think that's touched in season 3 of Daredevil at all. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Fair enough. Because it's just like, I mean, this is a lot of smoke for someone who can't see anyway.
But it looked really cool.
It did look cool. It did look very, very cool.
I mean, that's what I was hoping, that him not knowing that would mean that it makes sense for him to do it, but it also looks cool for us. I would like that to be.
Both things. You want both things to be true. Yes.
Instead of someone thinking, it would be cool, and then being like, I mean, would he do that though?
That was the problem that the Daredevil 2003 film had. You know what would be cool is that when Ben Urich throws his smoke, it lights up gas that was placed perfectly on the ground to create a Daredevil logo.
Yeah.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I think that's everything for this session.
I am looking forward to covering the whole season with you. So if we can, I mean, it's only going to be 2 more episodes for us for the podcast. Yeah. But I'm hoping we can make that happen, because I really do love having you on. But also having you on for Daredevil elevates it, because you've got this love for it, and you can cite different things from the comics, which makes it all.
Yes,
all
I would like to throw out for anybody that would like some interesting tie-in reading material.
Yes,
if you wanna see Daredevil throw Bullseye down a very far distance out of anger, read Daredevil issue 181 from the original series. If you want to see the saddest moment in Heather Gunn's life, or the end of her life, so to speak, you go Daredevil 220 written by Denny O'Neil with artwork by the amazing David Mazzucchelli. Also, if you just want to see what the actual Born Again storyline was like in the comics, that's Daredevil 227 to 233. It's different, but it still covers on some same tones. And I don't know how much Daniel would like it because for most of the story, Matt is not in the suit.
When I'm reading a comic, it's different. I don't when I'm watching a show, I'm like, "Come on, man! Like, get the suit on."
Fair enough. So those are my reading. Those are my reading suggestions to any listeners out there.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. I do really appreciate that because we don't ever really have that ability to pull like that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew, once again, you're the host of Geek Hard, and you mentioned Back Issue Blah Blah, but where do you want people to find you and connect with your stuff?
Yeah, of course. You can find everything I do at geekhardshow.com. We have the Geek Card there as well as Back Issue Bloodbath. And currently on Back Issue Bloodbath, we are doing a sub-series called House of the Devil. For the next several episodes, we are just doing Daredevil stories. We have the episode on the original Born Again out right now, as well as an episode in honor of International Women's Day that just passed recently. We did an episode about Daredevil Woman Without Fear, which is a miniseries part of the run of Elektra Natchios as Daredevil. And you can listen to Geek Card live every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on realityradio101.com, but it's also available as a podcast. And if you want to find me online, I'm on Instagram at Andrew_of_geek_hard.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to everybody for listening. You can find us at TDF Spoiled on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube. You can also find us on all the different podcast platforms. So rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends. Also, follow the Geek Hard podcast. I feel like it's like an archive, but you've got individual things, right? Either way, geekhardshow.com. You'll find all the ways to do that. And you go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten to find all of our coordinates and listen to older episodes. All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.